My name is Grace Thompson, and I'm 29 years old. If you asked most people to describe me, they'd say I'm dependable, solid, the kind of woman who remembers birthdays, pays bills on time, and always has an extra charger in her bag just in case. I never thought that being reliable would one day feel like a curse. For 5 years, I built a life with my boyfriend Jimmy. While he was chasing the glare of ring lights and the applause of strangers online, I was the one quietly stitching together the fabric of our future. I was the woman with spreadsheets and a savings account, the one who handled rent while he experimented with photo shoots and brand collaborations. I never minded. To me, that was love balance. I didn't need to shine if it meant he could. He was the energy, the charisma, the spark in every room, and I was content being the anchor in the background. Or maybe I was just naive. That Saturday morning is etched into my memory with a cruel clarity. I was in the kitchen, waiting for the kettle to boil, scrolling through Instagram like I always did. My thumb froze on a post that lit up my feed. At first I thought it was just another silly meme, but then I recognized the photos. On the left me, a candid shot Jimmy must have taken while I was crouched on the floor fixing a loose cabinet hinge. My hair tied back, no makeup, an old t-shirt that had paint stains on it. Across the image in bold black font, my girlfriend Grace 210. My chest tightened as I read the caption beneath. She's reliable, sure, but too practical. Always planning for the future when I want to live in the moment. The kettle whistled, but the sound felt miles away. My thumb swiped to the next slide. On the right was another woman, Maya, a glossy filtered selfie with her lips pursed, her jawline sculpted by perfect lighting. The caption, the woman I'm with now, Maya, 10:10. She gets the vibe, the hustle, the art of living on the edge. My breath caught. My heart didn't break. In a slow, aching way, it shattered instantly like glass against concrete. It wasn't a breakup text. It wasn't a private conversation. It was a public declaration, a digital guillotine. Jimmy hadn't just left me. He had turned me into a joke. For all his followers, for strangers, for the world. My hands trembled so hard I almost dropped the phone. Every word blurred, but the number 210 burned itself into my mind like a brand. The front door opened, snapping me out of my trance. Jimmy strolled in, humming some tune, his camera bag slung over one shoulder. He set his keys on the counter, smiling like nothing in the world was wrong. "Morning, babe," he said, reaching for the kettle I'd abandoned. Perfect timing. I needed some caffeine before today's shoot. I just stared at him. My arms folded across my chest, the phone lying face up on the counter between us. He finally noticed my silence. His smile faltered. His eyes flicked to the glowing screen, and in that split second, I saw the recognition flash in his gaze. He knew I'd seen it. "The post," I said? My voice didn't even sound like my own, the one you just made. Jimmy's lips curved into something between a smirk and a shrug. "Oh, that relax. It's just a brand collab. A meme. A joke." "A joke!" My voice cracked, my control slipping. "You publicly rated me like I was a failed product review. You told the world I'm a 2 Jimmy. A 2. While you're off flaunting some stranger like she's the prize you finally won." He rolled his eyes, leaning back against the counter with exaggerated calm. "You don't get it, Grace. You never did. You're always wrapped up in plans and budgets and playing safe. Maya understands the hustle. She gets the lifestyle. You're just too stable, too boring." His words hit harder than any physical blow could have. 5 years of loyalty erased with a careless shrug. I felt something inside me shift. Not anger, not even heartbreak, just a cold, startling clarity. "So that's it," I whispered. 5 years and I was just boring." He met my eyes without hesitation, as if the verdict had already been written. "We're on different levels, Grace. Different trajectories. I need someone who fits that. And you're not it. Not anymore." The room was silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator. My throat ached, my eyes burned, but no tears came. I looked at him, really looked, and realized the man in front of me was no longer someone I loved. He was just a stranger who had weaponized my stability against me. "Okay," I said finally, my voice flat, stripped of everything. I walked past him through the hallway and into the living room. I didn't slam the door or scream. I didn't plead or argue. I just needed to start walking away, and I did. In that silence, I knew my life with Jimmy had ended the moment he hit post. And for the first time in years, I had no idea what my next step would be. When people talk about breakups, they imagine tears, fights, late-night calls. My ending with Jimmy wasn't any of those things. It was quiet. The kind of quiet that hums in your ears like static after an explosion. The morning after his little 210 stunt, I stood in the center of our apartment surrounded by echoes. His sneakers kicked off by the door, his cologne still clinging to the hallway. I could almost hear his laugh bouncing off the walls, but it wasn't real. I grabbed a roll of tape, a stack of cardboard boxes, and started. Every t-shirt, every camera lens, every piece of tech he had left sprawled across our place. I packed it away with methodical precision. It wasn't rage driving me. It was something colder, sharper, survival. By noon, the living room looked like a staging area for a move-out. I labeled the boxes with black marker, Jimmy. Not ours, not memories, just his name. The silence pressed in too loud, too heavy. I reached for my phone. His post was still up. Thousands of likes, laughing emojis, comments calling Maya a queen. My face, my tired, unfiltered, imperfect face, immortalized as a punchline. My stomach turned. I opened my photo gallery and scrolled through 5 years of us vacations, dinners, blurry selfies on lazy Sundays. My thumb hesitated, hovering over select all. Do it. With one swipe, I erased them. Deleted every trace. It was like ripping chapters from a book, tearing out the pages where I thought I was loved. Next came Instagram. I searched his profile, Jimmy grinning next to Maya, now their lives curated into a shiny fairy tale. My finger hovered for half a second before I hit block. One by one, I went down the list, his friends, his family, people who had double-tapped that meme as if it were harmless. Block, block, block. Then I deleted the app entirely. It wasn't just about removing him. It was about reclaiming my peace. My life didn't need to exist in his audience anymore. I changed the locks on the apartment that same week. Paid a locksmith extra to come after hours. When the new keys clicked into place, I exhaled for the first time in days. The loneliness was brutal at first. Nights stretched long and silent. The bed felt like an empty canyon. I'd catch myself staring at the door, expecting his keys to jingle his voice to fill the void. But the void stayed. So I filled it with motion. I went walking. For hours sometimes. Past shops I'd never entered, down alleys, painted with murals I'd never noticed. I slipped into coffee shops and sat with nothing but the bitter warmth of a latte and the sound of strangers' conversations. At the gym, I pushed myself until my muscles screamed. The sweat felt like something holy, like I was burning off the humiliation layer by layer. I told no one. I ignored calls from mutual friends. I didn't want pity, didn't want explanations. I wanted silence. Silence was control. Weeks blurred. The sharp sting of betrayal softened into a dull ache, a bruise I carried everywhere. Jimmy's voice stopped haunting the apartment. His shadow grew thinner in my memory. But there was one thing I couldn't shake. 210. 2 out of 10. It was a meme, a stupid caption on a screen, but it echoed in my skull at night. I had given him my loyalty, my stability, my love, and in the end, that was worth a 2. Sometimes I laughed bitterly at the absurdity. Sometimes I clenched my fists until my nails left crescent moons in my palms. But most nights I just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, whispering to myself, I'll prove him wrong. Not to him, to me. That whisper became my mantra. Because beneath the humiliation, beneath the grief, something else was stirring. Not revenge, not yet, but the beginnings of a life that would no longer belong to Jimmy. 6 months passed. If you had walked into my new apartment, you wouldn't have recognized me as the same woman who once lived in Jimmy's curated world. The place was smaller, tucked into a quieter part of the city, but every corner belonged to me. No ring lights, no clutter of tripods, no echoes of someone else's ambition. Just plants by the window, stacks of books, and a desk where I worked late into the night. I wasn't rich, but I was steady. My job promoted me team lead now, a role I'd secretly been dreaming of, but never dared push for while my energy was spent holding Jimmy's life together. My days fell into a rhythm. Mornings at the gym, evenings at the office, then maybe dinner with old friends I'd reconnected with. For the first time in years, I laughed without forcing it. I bought clothes that made me feel powerful, not just practical. It wasn't a glow-up montage, it was messy. Some nights, I still sat on the edge of my bed, fighting back the echo of 210. But the difference was, I no longer believed it. The irony is, I didn't even have to look for news about Jimmy. It found me. One evening, while I was stirring pasta on the stove, my phone buzzed. A text from Thomas, an old mutual friend. Heard Jimmy's in a rough spot. I stared at the screen, the steam from the pot fogging my glasses. My heartbeat didn't even change. Oh, I typed back. That girl he left you for Maya, total scammer. She drained his savings, maxed his cards, then vanished when her brand got exposed. I set the phone down on the counter and just stood there, spoon in hand, listening to the slow bubble of boiling water. There was no thrill, no victory rush, just a hollow confirmation of something I had already known. Deep down, Jimmy's world was built on smoke and mirrors, and smoke always clears. A week later, another message. You won't believe this. She didn't just ghost him, she stole everything. His money, his gear, even tricked him into handing over a business loan. The guy's broke, totally wiped out. This time my chest tightened, not with pity, but with the sharp sting of memory. I thought about all the nights I'd begged Jimmy to save, about the account I built for our future, the one he once sneered at as boring. Maya had taken him for every cent. The 10-10 vibe left him with nothing but debt and humiliation. I leaned back against the counter, the phone heavy in my hand. My pasta boiled over, hissing against the burner, but I didn't move. For years, Jimmy had treated me like an anchor weighing him down. Now he was adrift, swallowed whole by the very chaos he once glorified. And me, I was still here, solid, whole. I thought I would feel vindicated. I thought I'd laugh. Instead, I just felt done. The story had written its ending without me needing to lift a finger. Later that night, I sat on my balcony, the city glowing beneath me. A cool breeze lifted strands of my hair as I whispered to myself, he was never a 10, and I was never a 2. That quiet certainty settled into my bones. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over. Because people like Jimmy, they don't vanish when their world collapses. They look for lifeboats. And I had been his lifeboat once, foreshadowing he would come looking for me again. It started with a text. The number wasn't saved in my phone, but the message was unmistakable. Hey, Grace, it's me. I know you probably hate me. I deserve that. But I'm going through a lot right now, and I thought maybe you'd understand. I miss our talks. I stared at the screen. The woman I used to be, the one who once built her life around Jimmy's chaos, might have answered, might have offered comfort, but that woman was gone. I deleted the message without replying, blocked the number. Silence. For a week I thought maybe that was it, that Jimmy would move on, find someone else to lean on. But then the calls started not from him, but from others. One evening, my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in months, Sarah, one of our old mutual friends. Against my better judgment, I picked up. Grace, she said quickly, skipping hello. Please don't hang up. This is about Jimmy. My jaw tightened. I don't want to hear about Jimmy. He's a mess, Sarah pressed. Maya took everything. His savings, his credit, even the money he borrowed for that so-called studio. He's broke. He has nowhere to go. You know him, Grace. He's not built for this. He needs you. The laugh that slipped out of me wasn't cruel. It was disbelieving. Needs me, Sarah. He made me the punchline of a meme. He told the world I was a 2 out of 10. And now suddenly I'm supposed to be his savior. You don't understand, Sarah pleaded. He regrets it. He knows he screwed up. He says you're the only one who was ever real with him. The only one who... Stop! My voice cut sharper than I expected. Sarah, what happened between Jimmy and me ended months ago. His problems are not mine to solve. There was a pause, then a sigh, heavy with disappointment. I just thought, you're a good person. Maybe you'd forgive him. Being a good person doesn't mean being a doormat, I said softly. Then I ended the call. The silence in my apartment returned, wrapping around me like a shield. But Jimmy wasn't done. The next attempt came through LinkedIn. Of all places, a connection request from his profile, followed by a rambling message about how much he missed me, how lost he felt, how he just wanted to talk. I stared at the words glowing on my laptop screen. They read like they were written by someone drowning, desperate for a hand to pull him up. But all I felt was detachment, like I was watching a stranger. I clicked ignore, marked his message as spam. The old Grace would have broken then. She would have let pity masquerade as love. But now I understood something I hadn't before. Jimmy didn't want me. He wanted the version of me that kept him afloat. And I wasn't that version anymore. Still, I couldn't shake the gnawing certainty. If he was willing to reach me through LinkedIn, there would be more. Desperation never stops at polite requests. And part of me wondered how far would he go before he showed up at my door. It was a Saturday afternoon. Sunlight slanted through the blinds, painting golden stripes across my floor. I was folding laundry, the kind of ordinary task that had become my comfort. Then came the knock. 3 slow raps on the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. My chest tightened as I approached, peering through the peephole. And there he was. Jimmy. But not the polished, preening man who once filled my feed with curated grins and flashy captions. This Jimmy looked small. his hair unkempt, eyes sunken with sleeplessness. In his hands, a cardboard box, sagging at the corners, taped haphazardly. For a moment, I froze. My pulse thundered in my ears. Every instinct screamed to stay silent, to let him stand there until he gave up. But some part of me wanted to see to face what I had already buried. I unlocked the chain and cracked the door just enough. "Grace," he breathed, his voice low, frayed. "Thank God, you're here." I didn't answer. My eyes dropped to the box he held, and my stomach twisted. Inside were pieces of a life I had already erased, an old scarf I'd left in his car, a mug we bought on vacation, scraps of our past. He lifted it slightly, as if it were an offering. "I brought some of your things back. I thought, maybe we could talk." I kept the door half closed, the frame between us like a shield. "Talk about what, Jimmy? About how you humiliated me online, or how you called me boring and disposable?" His face crumpled, shame and desperation flickering across it. "I was stupid. God, Grace. I was so stupid. Maya, she wasn't what I thought. She used me. Took everything. I'm ruined. I don't even know who I am anymore." I let the words hang in the air. His downfall wasn't surprising. It was inevitable. He stepped closer, lowering his voice, trying to coax me. You always knew how to handle life. Finances, plans, everything. You were the smart one. The stable one. I need that, Grace. I need you. Just help me figure things out." A bitter laugh escaped me before I could stop it. "Help you, Jimmy. You rated me a 2 out of 10. A 2. Do you remember that you made me the butt of a joke for strangers to applaud?" His shoulders slumped, and he whispered, "I didn't mean it like that. It was just..." "Don't," I cut him off. My voice was calm, sharper than it had ever been. "Don't rewrite history. You meant every word. And now you're here because your 10 out of 10 turned out to be a fraud." He flinched. The words hit him the way his meme once hit me. For the first time, I realized how much the power had shifted. He wasn't the man on a pedestal anymore. He was the ghost, clinging to scraps, and I was the one standing in the light. I straightened, meeting his eyes without hesitation. "You know what I learned, Jimmy? I'm not a 2. I was never a 2. I built myself back up, piece by piece, without you, and now I'm a 10 on my own. You're just a reminder of everything I've outgrown." His lips parted, but no words came out, only silence. I pressed the door shut, slow and deliberate, until the latch clicked into place. The sound echoed like the final period at the end of a long, painful sentence. I didn't look back through the peephole. I didn't need to. The past was on the other side of that door, and I was done letting it in. When the door clicked shut, I leaned against it for a moment, listening. Nothing. No pleading, no footsteps shuffling away, no angry knock, just silence. I slid the chain back into place and stood there, my palms pressed to the cool wood. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt like peace. I walked back into my apartment. Sunlight spilled across the couch, glinting off the edges of the coffee table. The air smelled faintly of lavender from the candle I'd lit earlier. Everything here was mine, chosen, built, nurtured by me. No borrowed chaos, no hidden ridicule, just me. I thought back to the woman I had been 6 months ago, trembling in the kitchen, staring at a phone screen that told the world I was worth a 210. That woman had curled in on herself, drowning in shame. But the woman standing here now, she wasn't ashamed. She wasn't broken. She had walked through fire and rebuilt herself from the ashes. I sat down on the couch, pulled my knees up, and let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. What Jimmy never understood, what Maya never cared to see, was that stability is not boring. Reliability is not weakness. To show up day after day with love and consistency, that is strength. That is the foundation of every lasting thing. And I was the builder. I always had been. Jimmy thought he'd upgraded to a 10, but all he did was chase an illusion that crumbled in his hands. And me, I had learned the hardest truth of all. I didn't need someone else to rate me. I was a 10 on my own. I glanced toward the door one last time, imagining him still standing there in the hallway, clutching that box of scraps like it could anchor him. But he wasn't my responsibility anymore. He never would be again. I whispered softly into the empty room, not for him, but for myself. "You're a ghost now, and I don't live with ghosts." Outside, the city buzzed with life. Somewhere people were laughing, making plans, falling in love, breaking up. Life was moving on, and so was I. I stood stretched and walked toward the window. Sunlight warmed my face. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a supporting character in someone else's story. I was the author now, and my story finally was mine to write.